Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Slam podcast, where I talk about anything and everything. As you can see from the title of this video, we are going to be talking about death. If you are uncomfortable about the subject, it is totally understandable, and you may exit the video whenever you feel it is best. Moving forward, it is often a subject that we don't talk much about. It still seems a bit taboo to have conversations about death because we often find ourselves uncomfortable with the topic. And I think a reason for that is that we find ourselves afraid of the fact that we are all going to die one day, and it's the one thing we have absolutely no control over. People are afraid of situations they cannot control. Something that adds on to that fear of death is the realm of the unknown. No one can truly say they have knowledge of what will happen to us after death in terms of our consciousness or soul, but one day we will all find the truth. During our lifetime, many of us try to live our lives as best we can in an attempt to redeem or save ourselves from eternal damnation after dying. We cling so tightly onto religious dogma. Fear is an element of internalized feelings that drive us to chase after something that we believe can calm that fear. Whether it be finding some semblance of peace through religion, or simply coming to terms with our own mortality. Everyone has their own interpretation of dealing with that idea of dying. There are some days where I wish I could be immortal for the sole purpose of seeing how humanity will progress technologically. I want to see us terraform and inhabit our neighboring planets. I would love to see the human footprint expand to the far reaches of the universe. How will humans evolve? Will we destroy ourselves? That would actually be a pretty good subject for another episode. I love reading about space, but I digress. The one thing that makes me appreciate my mortality is my belief that I will see my dad again one day. In a way, I look forward to dying, as to me, it's just a gateway to another world where my dad will be waiting for me. I miss him more than anything. Honestly, guys, religion can be a pretty touchy subject, and how this intertwines with religion is that I grew up shaman, and so I believe in an afterlife. I have experienced things that unquestionably lead me to believe there is something after death. Throughout my lifetime, I had an immense fear of dying, but after my dad's passing, that fear declined somewhat due to the fact that I have a feeling I'll be reunited with him and the rest of my family that have transcended into a higher plane of existence. In a way, I think that's almost my way of coping with death. It's a way to put my mind at ease, but also a form of mourning and longing for my deceased loved ones. As frightening as death may be to us, mere mortals, and how much pain it inflicts on loved ones, there are some comforting facts about the process of dying. In this segment, I'm going to explore the 3 stages of dying during our end-of-life phase. I hope that by explaining this process, it'll bring you guys comfort and give you guys a better understanding of what dying looks and feels like. There are 3 stages of death that we will all eventually go through. This is a process that I saw very vividly as my dad slowly passed away. In the initial stage of death, a dying person will have a dramatic loss of interest in food and drink. They typically feel full after a few bites or sips. They may also experience difficulty swallowing and will often choke on their food or drink. The reason why this decreased intake of essential nutrients happens is that your body is starting to conserve energy, as your body does not need as much nourishment as it used to, since your body now sees very little activity since you're actively dying. The lack of food and drink does not hurt us during this stage, as our body is naturally shutting down hunger. During my dad's final months, my mother and I would try to feed my dad, but after a couple bites, he would tell us he was full. And it hurt so much to see that my dad was not eating as well as he used to. He was kind of a chubby man because my mom cooked so well and fed him well too. But the year prior to his death, his weight slowly withered away. He was so skinny that the final images of him have left me hurting forever. I still feel great discomfort knowing he died such a slow and painful death. Fuck cancer. Signs you'll begin to see in the middle stages of clinical death is that there is a lack of responsiveness to a person's surroundings and to those around them as well. They may speak and move less. When this happens, hospice or palliative care will often gently reposition the person to avoid bed sores and muscle stiffness. A dying person will also show signs of a phenomenon called detachment, where they may not respond to questions or interactions with those around them. Another form of stimulation that is now breaking down as the body actively dies. Although a dying person may interact with people or their surroundings less, professionals say that loved ones should act as if the dying person is aware of what's going on and assume that the person is still able to hear, as hearing is one of the very last senses to disappear before death. Other signs of the middle stages of death is decreased blood pressure in your body, as blood is now being reserved to maintain the functions of major internal organs. Cold hands and feet, along with dark or darker coloration of the skin, are side effects of this. Usually 3 weeks to a month before you die, you will start to experience a phenomenon called visioning. This experience is defined as a dying person hearing things others can't hear, seeing things others can't see, such as deceased relatives, friends, and pets. And it is often comforting for the dying person. In the final stages of death, your breathing will change quite significantly. Your patterns of breathing may be uneven, going from rapid breathing to several slow breaths. This type of breathing is called Cheyne-Stokes breathing, named after the person who first described it. Breathing of this manner indicates that you are very close to death, usually within minutes to hours. Another phenomenon is near-death awareness. A person may be completely aware of their impending death and will express comfort in seeing their interpretation of God or reuniting with dead relatives and friends. It has been observed that after these experiences, a person will die very quickly or almost immediately after. Right before the moment of death, it is not uncommon for a dying person to see dead relatives or friends again, or to even call out their names right before dying. Till this day, I am still trying my best to comprehend my own mortality. I still find myself deathly afraid of death, Something that I'm most afraid of is dying and becoming nothing after the fact, as if me or my consciousness never existed, that there's just a blank void of nothingness. I've seen things that lead me to believe that there is an afterlife, and even if there is, will I have lived my life worthy enough of reuniting with my loved ones? Will I be punished for every sin I committed? Will a higher power forgive me? These are questions I often ask myself when I'm in my deepest thoughts. The unknown scares us, and that's okay. People tend to be able to muster up confidence when they have knowledge. But this is something we literally will know nothing about until our own time comes. The best thing we can do to prepare us for this natural part of life is by coming to terms with it. Whatever you can't fight, just let it be for what it is. There are atheists, agnostics, and religious people. Whatever practice a person participates in, it is a way to comfort ourselves, regardless of whether or not what we believe in exists. We spend our whole lives afraid of dying, but just know that in the final stages of our life, it is often comforting to die. It has been studied and observed through many decades of research that people who are actively dying do not fear death and are at ease. Our bodies, as resilient as they can be in life, are also our own best friends during death. They are built to die, and the body knows this as we are in our final moments. It prepares itself to die and will do everything in its power to ensure that you have the most painless death possible. As for my own thoughts on death, dying is what makes life precious. It inspires us to live life to its fullest, knowing that it will not last forever. Time itself is endless, but our time is not. Whatever we do in life, we must make it count. The things that you've always wanted to do, go and do them. As long as you're not hurting anyone. Go explore your creativity. Take your shot at new things, even if you are hesitant to do them. Pour your heart out to that one person who captivates you every single day. Living is the longest thing we do, yet it is so short. Take chances and just live. Live before you can't anymore. I hope that in death we all find what we're looking for. And if we're able to reflect on our life in our final moments, I hope that none of us have regrets or unfinished business. May we all find peace. This concludes this week's episode of the Let's Slam podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this one and found it insightful. I'm still new to this whole podcast thing, so if you guys have any recommendations on how I can improve, please let me know in the comment section. I can't get better if I don't have peer reviews and critique from the general public. So please let me know. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys on next week's episode of the Let's Slam podcast. See you guys.